do you have a servant's heart? This is a job where you're working for, close to 7,000 bosses of this community, and it's with tax dollars. So there's public trust there with the tax dollars. And we start there just because you need to have that foundation for people to understand this is an important job no matter where you fall on the spectrum of it.
Pull up a chair, bring the vision you're chasing. Look over the blueprints, years in the making. From planning to progress and growth that will last. Come on, let's build and enable at the inside table.
Hey, my name's Tim. Thank you for clicking on this today and listening to us. We've just been happy to have conversations around real estate development and construction has been my passion for years. So here at Veritas, we're also passionate about that. And so what you're going to hear is just some general conversations that we've had about certain topics within this framework over the last several months. We hope you enjoy these. We hope you came to learn today. If you need some more information, we'll get you some information at the end of this as we close this thing out. But enjoy this conversation. Today at the Insight Table, we have a guest with us, the town manager of the town of Cumberland, Indiana, Ben Lips. So Ben, thanks for joining us today. I'm glad you could be here. To start off, introduce yourself, help us understand how you got to become the town manager, because I think your path is a little bit different than maybe some people's out there. So
thanks for having me, Tim.
Yeah.
I'd say you're correct. It is a little bit different. So my path to town manager started when I was 18 years old. I started working for the town seasonally, mowing grass. Never thought I'd stay in kind of government or anything long term. I was going to IUPUI for environmental science and water quality, and kind of working for the town all that time. And as kind of progressed and graduated with that, they said, "Hey, we're starting a stormwater utility. Would you like to launch and run with that?" And I was like, first job out of college, already know the place. That's a great way to run. And then from there, they're like, "Hey, you're taking over streets and parks." It wasn't a will you, it was you are. And that was Andrew Klinger, who's now town manager of Plainfield. He voluntold me into that. I'm glad he did now. At the time, I was a little bit concerned. And then our utility director left, and I became Unified Public Works Director at that time, moving into taking over our sanitary utilities and our water utility at the time since we sold. And then my predecessor left, and I said, "Hey, I've done everything else. I think I'd like to try this as well."
Sure.
And now it's been 5 years.
Good. So what was the time frame from 18 years old of mowing grass to where you became town manager? Was that?
Let's see. That was about 13 years.
About 13 years. And you got your degree in there in the middle of that. What was your degree in?
Environmental science, water quality. So more fixated on kind of the water, stormwater side.
Yeah.
So.
Good. And do you still use some of that degree today, or are you kind of more out of it because you're more into the management side?
I'm kind of more out of it into the management side now. I work with my utility director, occasionally help him with some of the areas, but more or less don't function in that realm as much.
Yeah. So maybe for our audience, you're the first town manager that we've had on this podcast. So help the audience understand exactly what a town manager does on a daily basis.
Okay. Well, that's a loaded question.
It could be a loaded question. You can make it as simple as you want or as complicated as you want.
Well, let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
So as I know, audience probably doesn't know, I led a piece of legislation for the town a couple sessions back now to move the town into a different governance structure. So like one morning I was downtown testifying in front of committees at the State House. And then by that afternoon, I was looking for rabbit carcasses behind somebody's home that allegedly was dumping them in the woods by the hundreds.
Okay.
And then I had a council meeting back that night where we were talking about chickens. So
great.
It can be really pretty much anything that has to do with municipal government, anything in there. There's a lot of boring days just writing policy drafts for the council to consider. There's budget days, but it's really probably one of the most unique, diverse jobs you can have because you get to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so I think you kind of hit on this, but you're basically there to act as a professional manager of the resources that come in through property taxes and income, however you get your
Right.
income. Obviously, you're taking some direction from council because your council is your body of elected officials,
That's right.
and through that you are their employee, right? And
Correct.
so then, are you their only employee?
I am not.
You're not,
I'm
okay.
one of close to 50 in
Okay.
Cumberland,
Okay.
so we're not
Well,
huge, but
some cities and towns will set up their town manager as their single employee that is controlled by the council, and then everybody else works technically for the town manager.
well, yeah, that is how we are
Okay,
structured.
okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
so-
outside of the police chief.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah,
outside of the police chief, then they have one employee or two employees, and then that kind of works its way down from there.
that's right.
But you said how many staff do you have now?
The town has total. We're right around 47, growing towards
Okay.
50. So,
Good. So complicated enough, right? Need HR, need all those different things that
Yeah.
that we have to have. We're very similar size here. We're a little bit smaller than that. And what's your annual budget you're managing in Cumberland, roughly?
On the taxing side, we're around 7.5 million, so
Okay.
not huge. Total budget with utilities, we're closer to around 18 million.
Okay. Well, good. So help us understand a little bit again about town government. What do you see as one of the biggest challenges that we have in town government today?
Town government today, it's universally, I'd say, across the nation, it's polarization. I'd say locally in Indiana, it's finding efficiencies with revenue being adjusted and cut back on us.
Yeah.
So,
So you bring up revenue being cut back. We've had several different guests in here, whether they're mayors or school superintendents or whomever,
Mhm.
that talk about SCA 1, Senate Enrolled Act 1 here in the state of Indiana, and what that's done to them. Have you seen what that, I mean, you've obviously got some projections of what that's going to do for you.
Yeah.
How's it going to affect Cumberland?
Um, SEA 1 2025 is going to scale back our property tax revenue significantly, which I think is going to be an ongoing battle, not only as it ramps in, but as they consider future changes. With the current legislation as it sits, we've had to cut back hiring of officers. We've not had to cut any staff, but scale back our needs as we're growing. We're one of the fastest growing communities in the state. We're around 7,000, but we've approved over 3,500 housing units
Okay,
in the past
great.
couple of years. So our needs are growing fast, but we can't collect that actual AV. From a resident constituent standpoint, that means services aren't going to grow in the way they're used to and accustomed to, but also the way that legislation was wrote, because they live incorporated and not unincorporated, which it favors the unincorporated residents currently. We estimate Cumberland residents will have a net loss of about $1,000 when you combine the municipal income tax that can roll on with the property tax cuts. Average Cumberland residents just paid their property taxes with that new homestead deduction. Most of them were within $10 of their previous year's pay.
Okay.
So
All right. So maybe an effect, but maybe not a huge effect as it is with some other communities, is what you're seeing so far
For sure.
anyway. So what you're seeing so far. So let's talk about the town of Cumberland because it's unique.
Sure.
It's in a I don't know how to geographically, right? It actually does a couple different things. So tell us what makes Cumberland unique.
So geographically, as you said, we are in two counties. We're both in Marion County and Hancock County.
Okay.
Marion County is pretty urban in makeup. Hancock County is pretty suburban and rural in makeup. So it's really a unique bridge between two communities. Marion County has Unigov, the consolidated city-county government township structure. Cumberland was included in that, which made Marion County Cumberland very limited in kind of power and operation compared to Hancock County Cumberland. But that was the legislation I was speaking about. So
Right.
starting next year, we'll be able to operate the same no matter what county people live in.
Good. So that was kind of the uniqueness I wanted to kind of zero in on a little bit, because I think the work you did on that legislation was really important for you guys, right? To be able to make your own decisions, because what we had there was, Cumberland sits in two counties, and how you operated depended upon which side of the line you were on, right?
It's drastically different.
Right. And not only, so not only was it just different, it was drastically different between the two sides. So when you have one side that may be easier to develop on than the other side, that becomes problematic in a community.
Mm-hmm.
So help us understand completely what the legislation did that you wrote. So you pulled it out. You pulled Cumberland basically out of the Unigov kind of mentality. What does that mean practically?
So prior to the legislation, we were an included entity, which to simplify it meant we maintained everything, but we had none of the controls and policy controls. So plan commission items would have to go through the city, zoning, like all that through plan commission, through city. Redevelopment authority we didn't have, so we couldn't do TIF deals. We couldn't do abatements through there because that power fell with the city. We couldn't form a parks district to collect certain parks revenues and things over there. But code enforcement is a huge one. So like all those ticket items are kind of how you control your image and your destiny kind of the best. Whereas maintenance is just kind of sustaining, right?
Sure.
But we are now going to be able to do those items next year, which will make it way better for our residents because like I had residents who would come in my office, like literally crying because we couldn't help them at town hall. They're like, I live in town. I can walk here in
Right.
like a minute and a half. You're telling me I have to go downtown for a dispute with my neighbor's yard or for a permit that I desperately need. And I'm going to wait however much time it would take with the city versus coming right here to my own town. It's also a taxing efficiency issue because even though we couldn't provide those services, they were still paying a town rate and a city rate
Yeah.
for that area. And now they'll only be paying the town rate. The city will come off and we won't have any additional need for hiring or anything because we already do those functions in Hancock County. So it's really an efficiency issue as well.
Well, good. Does that legislation affect more than just Cumberland, or is it just Cumberland right now?
Just Cumberland.
Okay.
Lawrence had made some changes a little bit prior with some of the other excluded entities
Okay.
around zoning. I know the city right now is working on some of their zoning ordinance issues and things like that, trying to navigate that.
Okay. Well, good. So if I'm coming to Cumberland, where do I need to stop? Am I going to eat someplace? Am I going to do something? Like what's in Cumberland?
Well, the most famous restaurant is Ciro's, which has been there for a long time, Greek restaurant using
Yeah.
US 40. But right across the street, we have the Green Bean, which is one of my favorite coffee shops
Okay.
/ boutiques. They have consignment shop within there where they work at any given point with around 40 artisans. So you have artwork in there, handmade soaps, blankets, crafts, like anything you can imagine that you'd see at kind of like an arts fair they have within their building. We also have one of the highest walkability scores in all of central Indiana. About 90% of our neighborhoods are connected to trails. And
Nice.
all of our park systems are connected to our trails as well.
Well, good. All right, I'm going to shift off of the maybe super technical side of Cumberland maybe a little bit. I want to talk about your leadership journey because you and I have had some conversations about this offline. But you came in as an 18-year-old cutting grass, doing
Yep.
those things, and you've seen multiple different kinds and types of leadership in your day, right?
That's right.
How many town managers you served under? 2 town managers? Is that or
Three town
Three.
managers and interim council members.
Right. So yeah, you got 3 town managers that you served under, right, as an employee, and in between those, there was often maybe a council person that stepped in as an interim. So, what did you pick up even at a young age and you're not that old yet, but what did you pick up at as you're kind of advancing through your career, going to school, 3 different town managers, all these different people above you, like what are you taking from all of those people and using today for your people?
I mean, that's positive and negative.
Sure,
Right?
yeah,
You learn
please.
what you do
That's
want
right.
to do and what you don't want to
Absolutely.
do. So the first town manager I worked under was very self-centric, not really concerned with staff, and I was able to see from a young age a very toxic environment,
Okay.
a lot of issues with staff, a lot of disenfranchised employees, and I knew if I were able to get an opportunity to lead, I would never do some of the things that were being done under
Yeah,
that
fair enough.
leadership. I would engage with my staff and try to be present in those conversations, whereas a lot of times that individual wasn't very present and um, was more looking at ways to pawn off his issues and distract from things that they were like he was doing within his professional life and personal life. So that was kind of a negative example of leadership, but we moved from that individual to Andrew Klinger, like I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
who's town manager in Plainfield. Andrew, it was his first town manager job. He's only his second now, but he's been there much longer than he was in
Sure.
Cumberland.
Yeah.
But Andrew was a good presence for me. He was, I was kind of a angry punk kid still at that time, and he took a
I've seen some
chance
pictures
on
of
me.
that punk kid.
Have you?
So yeah,
Very
yeah.
recently?
Maybe as of yesterday or this
Okay.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So still that kid that you
Yeah.
probably saw the photo of. And he took kind of risks and chance on me, but like I had a lot of anger
Hmm.
issues back then, which Andrew would talk with me about and not like just punish me and
Sure.
stuff. He would
Yeah.
say, "Hey man, what's going on?" And like take the time and also give me some tools and advice on how to navigate some of those things. And that really helped me figure out how to get better in line with the leadership track that I'm on today, and how to separate out some of those issues in life, but also how to address my young staff. Cause I have a bunch of public works guys that are young men like I was that also are angry, different things. So I'm able to model some of the things that he did with me with those guys. And then um, I would say a lot of my positive influences too aren't fully in that predecessor line of things. I saw a lot of do nots through that time period, but also kind of the network of people around me inside professionally and like outside personally came up with my father being very like present, involved in my life, which helped quite a bit. And then I have my mentorship kind of groups that I go to. One of them works for you,
Yeah.
Pete, which
Yep.
that's questionable whether or not he's the best mentor or not. But Tanya,
He's a
who's
town
like
manager for a
the
long time, right?
very, very much
Yeah.
so. Andrew's still somebody I call upon, and I kind of have different people I call upon for different things because I see like what they were really, really good at. Pete's a very good, like pragmatic, like
Yeah.
let's break it, get it done. If it doesn't work, kind of guy. I go to Tanya if I need really. Tanya Galbraith, former
Mhm.
McCordsville manager, ICMA senior advisor for us in the state of Indiana. If I need very sound policy advice, ethics
Sure.
advice, and I go to Andrew still if I have like interpersonal things that I'm looking to navigate, much like I did when I was that young punk kid.
Yeah.
So
On August 13th, the Veritas Group is hosting the Insight Summit 2026 at the Alexander Hotel in downtown Indianapolis. This is a one-day in-person gathering designed for mayors, city and county officials, planners, engineers, economic development leaders, and community advocates who are actively shaping Indiana's future. The day is built around real-world insight from Veritas Group-led projects across the state, focusing on what's actually working in infrastructure, public space development, and economic growth. Whether you're driving capital projects, navigating growth challenges, or building strategic partnerships, attendees will leave with actionable insights, expanded networks, and a clearer vision for delivering lasting community impact. Learn more and register at theveritasgroup.com/insight.
For something you brought up there is really important that we have people in our lives we can go to when when you try to do anything alone, it becomes very lonely just for that same
right.
purpose. But especially when you're young and you're trying to figure out, okay, what is my next step here? Where should I do here? I've never experienced this before. You're probably going to have some ideas and thoughts, but it's always good to run it by somebody else and kind of think through. So I do want to take from the town manager position, I want to go both directions here. So in two different questions. One is going to be to your employees and the people that work with you and for you every day. And then I want to come back here in a second and ask a question about how you interact with your council. And what does that look like? So let's first talk about employees. So you have 47 people working at the town of Cumberland.
Yep.
I think some people often will say, well, you work at a city or town because you can't do anything else, right? I mean, and
People say that, yeah.
you've proven this wrong by your whole career path and everything else you've done. So how do you take those people and motivate them, the people that are working for you, when, it's another day of filling potholes or mowing grass or doing whatever it is? I mean, we all deal with this kind of mentality and no matter what our business is, but how do you take your people and motivate them to keep going and doing their best every day?
I like to talk to my people about how they're all leaders. Like I'm the linchpin between the council and the staff,
Yeah.
but they really are leaders. Like as part of starting with the initial interviews, employment, myself, my department heads, one of the questions that always comes up is, do you have a servant's heart? This is a job where you're working for, close to 7,000 bosses of
Right.
this community, and it's with tax dollars. So there's public trust there with the tax dollars. And we start there, just because you need to have that foundation for people to understand this is an important job no matter where you fall on the spectrum of it. And then my police officers I interact with, public works guys, even when we had on staff custodial, I'm like, nothing I do is possible without
Right.
them at the
I
base
agree.
of it. I'm like, there's probably 80% of the stuff I do on a day to day that citizens of Cumberland don't care about. And that's just honest. It's
Sure.
boring, mundane policy stuff, getting things done, having conversations. But if the potholes aren't filled, if crime isn't managed, if parks aren't mowed, if facilities aren't clean, people really care about that. I think it's your foundation to everything, and I try to make sure they
Sure.
understand that they are the base moving up. Kind of my middle managers. I view middle management as the most important role within the organization because they are that linchpin that I need for all the other staff members. They need to be able to manage down and manage up the same way I do, since sometimes I'm managing their expectations, sometimes they're managing mine. I may
Sure.
not always be reasonable, but I need them to and work with them to understand that they are crucial in that because um, I'm not always going to be able to communicate things correctly all the way to down the chain to every single employee, but they are within their divisions and they can support each other through that and messaging. So then, do you,
No.
you want me to go into?
Well, let me
Yeah,
shift it here. So let's go. So you just said a minute ago that you're the linchpin between all of your people that are working on a daily basis
yeah,
and the town council. So town councils, this is not a city, right?
correct.
Indiana has differences there. We don't need to get into that right now, but you don't have a mayor. So you become, as the town manager, more or less, you're not elected, right?
Correct.
You're very much appointed and hired by the council, but you often become the face of the community because you're the one that everybody interacts with to get
That's right.
things done. So let's talk about now the council and how you interact with the council and kind of what their role is and how you see them functioning, how you help them function even better, maybe as a town manager, because you are their kind of primary employee.
That's right. Um, they are all the policy and vision of the town. As a town manager, I make recommendations to them, ideas I think will be helpful to the citizens, helpful to them in their decision making. But they really are driving the ship. I am operational, manage all the day to day functions to free them up for political issues, right? I'm apolitical. I shouldn't be dealing with
Right.
that. They should be policy issues. I may recommend policies based off what I hear from the citizens, but the policy comes and is set by them. So managing up and working with them, it's those items. I'm bringing what I know the staff needs, what I hear from the citizens that they need to make sure they hear those items. And I make sure that they hear it in the way that they need to hear it as individuals. I have 5 council members and they're all 5 different people.
Right.
So I know some of them need a phone call. I know some of them need me to talk to them face to face. I know some of them are good with a text message. And then for me, I try to work with them in ways that make sure I'm doing the correct things. It's very easy for managers to not stay in contact with their councils and then think that think it's their town. It's not. We are appointed, and we do have a lot of times a lot of runway, which is good if you use it appropriately, but can also get people in trouble if they start thinking this is their town, their community, and they're the elected official when we're not. So I do practice things like, hey, we're going to have reviews regularly so that I know that I'm doing what you guys need me to do and how you guys want me to do it. And then practice things like retreats, which we're actually working with your staff on
Good.
a retreat coming
Good.
up too, to make sure that they are remembering their roles of I am setting vision. This is the vision we want for the community.
Yeah.
This is the policies we're pushing for. Policy can look very different. Some communities have very heavy code enforcement. Some have very light, and figuring out what that blend is and what those council members want at that time.
I think you made some really good points there. I think what I've learned over the years working with over 100 probably cities and towns across Indiana and Michigan and other places is that everyone's unique, right? There may be similarities between communities and their councils, but they're all different because they're all made up of people. Each council has its own flavor and own, kind of how they operate and what they do. What I've found over time is sometimes we get some council members and we're going to have some council members on the podcast here at some point, but, we get council members who maybe try to get over involved when that's not really part of their day-to-day job,
That's
right? Then we get some that just only show up on their meeting dates, and then you're trying to educate them almost at the meeting, right? So that can be, both of those things can be frustrating. In your mind, and maybe put you on the spot here because I love it, is what makes a good council member for a community?
A good council member is in touch with their constituents' needs, and knows the issues of community. But in my mind, and I won't speak for any councils, a good council member also isn't going off popularity votes. They're making informed decisions, taking the time to work with staff, do their own research, figure out what actually is best for the community, because they have professional staff and they have maybe engineering firms they're working with, and all these professionals. So a lot of times they have more information than the general citizens do. And a good council member is willing to do the hard thing that maybe the citizens don't think they want because it costs more money right now,
Right.
not realizing this is going to snowball an avalanche on them later if it's not addressed,
Right.
or different things. And we've had that over the years with difficult decisions and angry people, and most people are happy those decisions were made later.
Yeah, we do hear that sometimes. I was just talking to a council the other day or a council member the other day, like we're kind of faced with it, but we have to do a utility rate increase. We haven't done one in 20 something years,
Right.
and we're so far behind, and now we can't even afford to keep up our systems. And so they're having these conversations every day. I mean, the last few minutes we have, Ben, what I'd like to do is move a little bit to the personal side of this, as much as you're willing to share, because you're pretty active on social media at times, and you've posted I think some really thoughtful and meaningful stuff that helps people kind of maybe get a glimpse inside of the public/private life that you and government live.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for people to understand. I think some people think that town managers, mayors, almost aren't people.
Correct.
Right. And they just throw stuff at you. Right. Well, they're not people. They're just this is their job. When in fact, you guys are also people. You have families, you have children and spouses and all these different things. So help us understand the balance of that, and how you balance that well. And do you take things personal and not personal? And how does that work for you?
It depends on what it is and at the time.
Yeah.
The longer I go in the profession, the older I get, the more guarded I am with my personal life and trying to set those clear boundaries with the public, because I am an appointed official, not an elected official. I try to be super accessible to the citizens on my day-to-day basis. Anyone can schedule a meeting with me, but like you said, we have kind of dehumanized public officials over the past decade or so, and people don't know where those boundaries are and draw them, and where to draw them. So I'm trying to think of how to go into it, but an example of that is, I think, as you know, Tim, that like me and my family got some threats on social media about a year ago or so now, which was really ratcheted things down. We were doing very difficult rate increases, and like I said, we have a lot of growth, which isn't always favorable.
Right.
It's needed, arguably, but we had a pretty nasty zoning hearing and happened later that night before my social media statuses were a little bit ratcheted down. I had 2 fake profiles go on my account, make threats on my life, but also the lives of my wife and son.
Sure.
And for me, I don't take much personally unless you
Bring-
start talking
bring
about
the
my
family in.
family and
That's
son
right.
and stuff. And so I changed a lot of settings, then ratcheted things down. But I try to, as a non-elected official, keep things as separate from my family as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's good even with elected officials. I was talking with a mayor recently, and he does a very good job at being incredibly accessible to the public, but also saying, "Hey, man, my kids are here. Let's
Right.
set up another time." Or,
That's right.
"Hey, you can wish whatever you want upon me, but my family's got nothing to do with
That's
that."
right.
So
Well, good. I know it's a hard line to walk sometimes, to be accessible, but at the same time be guarded. So I appreciate how you've done that. I appreciate the words you've shared in the posts that you've had, because I can tell it's impactful to you and your family, and certainly want to respect and honor that. As we close our time together today, tell us something maybe we don't know about Ben. Right. I did see some pictures and some stuff, but not bad pictures, just maybe different Ben pictures than I was used to. So help us understand what don't we know about Ben? What's or if Ben's not being town manager, what is Ben doing? Where are you at?
today, when Ben's not big town manager, I'm normally out hiking and parks with my son. Maybe fishing stuff
Yeah.
with friends.
He's
Very outdoorsy.
How old now?
He'll be 6 soon.
6. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but he's wearing like 10, 12-year-old
Busy.
clothes,
Yeah.
basically.
It's busy. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm normally outdoors doing as much as I can outside. I may be playing some games with family, friends, things like that. But I'll just address the photo that you're mentioning.
We may put this in the show notes.
It's like the photo he's talking about. I have a very freshly shaven black mohawk. There's actually
Mohawk,
blue
yeah.
in it. It's hard
Oh,
to
is there?
see.
Okay.
Have some piercings that I no longer have.
Yeah.
And that time period, Ben was in metal bands.
Okay.
And then also a hip hop DJ
Okay.
as well. Probably the more unique thing is that I've DJ'd for the kind of 80s, 90s rap artist KRS-One on 2 occasions.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of things.
What was your DJ name? I'm
It
curious.
changed over time.
It changed.
But during that time period, it was DJ Nezer.
DJ Nezer.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
short for Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also an interesting story.
Yeah.
Right.
So it
And maybe
Yeah.
maybe a little apropos to you, actually, the story of Nebuchadnezzar, right? Over time.
a little
Right?
bit.
So, yeah. Well, great. Ben, thank you for coming in today. Thanks for being a part of our little thing we got going on here.
Yeah.
We love these opportunities just to sit and give you, as a town manager or as a leader in your community, a chance to be heard and to just tell us some things that are on your heart and your mind. And I think you did that today. So I'm just really looking forward to people hearing this from you. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Hey, thanks for listening today. Thanks for clicking on this and diving in a little bit deeper. We hope you learned something today. And if you did, or you want more information, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect you with the right people to get you the answers that you need. But really help you leave with one thing in mind, is that our goal here at Veritas is to renew communities through great projects and great people. I think all of these conversations have shown that in some way or another. So thanks for listening today, and catch up with us next time.